He was still there when the sun came up, sitting in the same place he'd been all night, his body curled beside an empty stroller on the sidewalk. The wheels were locked, the fabric seat faded from too many afternoons outside, and the handlebar was cold with dew. Cars passed. A jogger slowed, then kept moving. Someone across the street opened a garage door and glanced over, just for a second. The dog didn't look up. He didn't whine or bark. He just stayed. And the question, the quiet one that hung in the air before anyone even knew how to ask it, was simple and heavy at the same time. What was he waiting for? I should probably say hello, in the way people do when they start telling something like this. So, hi. Thanks for being here. This is one of those stories that doesn't announce itself. It just sort of sits down beside you and waits until you're ready to notice it. The street was part of a small neighborhood where nothing much happened. A short block, older houses with porches that had seen better paint jobs, lawns cut on Saturdays, flags out on certain holidays. Kids used to ride bikes there. Used to. The stroller belonged to a couple who lived in the blue house on the corner, the one with the maple tree out front and the wind chimes that never quite stopped moving. They'd moved in a few years earlier, young, friendly enough, waved when they passed. Then came the stroller. Then came the dog. He wasn't a big dog. Medium-sized, maybe 40 pounds, with a sandy coat that curled slightly behind the ears. The kind of dog you might guess was a mix of a few things, nothing official. He had a calm face. Not sleepy, not sad exactly, just attentive. Like he was always listening for something other people couldn't hear. They walked him every morning. Sometimes together, sometimes just one of them. The stroller came later, pushed slowly at first, like they were learning a new rhythm. The dog learned it too. He stayed close to the right wheel, matching its pace, stopping when it stopped, sitting when it parked. At the time, no one understood how important this would become. The neighborhood noticed little details, the way neighborhoods do. How the dog would sit and wait while one of them adjusted the blanket in the stroller. How he'd look up when the baby made a sound, then relax again when everything seemed okay. He didn't jump or pull. He just watched. It could have been nothing. It probably looked like nothing. Then, one afternoon, the stroller was parked on the sidewalk in front of the house, angled slightly toward the curb. The dog was sitting beside it, just like always. But no one was holding the handle. The front door was closed. The curtains were drawn. At first, people assumed it was temporary. Maybe they'd run inside for something. Maybe the baby was asleep, and they didn't want to wake them. The dog seemed calm. That counted for something. Later, this moment would mean everything. An hour passed. The dog didn't move. The stroller didn't move either. Shadows shifted. The wind chimes clinked. A neighbor watering her plants slowed the arc of the hose and watched for a bit longer than usual. She thought about asking. She didn't. There was nothing dramatic about it. Just silence. By evening, the stroller was still there. Empty. The seat straps hung loose. No blanket. No bottle. Just the shape of where something had been. The dog stayed beside it, now lying down, his head resting against one of the wheels. When someone approached, he looked up politely, tail moving once or twice. But he didn't stand. He didn't follow. He didn't leave. The animal didn't understand the situation, but it understood him. That night, a call was made. Not an emergency call, not really, just concern. Someone knocked on the blue house's door. No answer. Lights were on inside, but dim. The dog watched, ears lifting slightly, then settling again. He didn't pull toward the door. He didn't whine. He stayed where he was. This wasn't the hardest part. That came later. It turned out there had been a medical emergency. Sudden. The kind that doesn't give you time to put things away or explain yourself. The stroller had been left outside without a second thought. The dog tied to it out of habit, out of routine. An ambulance. A rushed goodbye that wasn't really a goodbye at all. The neighbors didn't know the details then. They only knew the house was empty and the dog was not. Animal control came the next morning. They approached carefully, voices low, movements slow. One of them crouched down and held out a hand. The dog sniffed it. He was friendly. He let them pet him. He even stood up when they gently pulled on the leash. But when they tried to lead him away from the stroller, his body stiffened. Not aggressive, just firm. He sat back down. The leash went slack. He looked at the stroller, then back at them. It could have run away. It didn't. They tried again. Same result. Finally, they moved the stroller a few feet. The dog FO. Load. They stopped. He stopped. They moved it again. He moved. This is where the story quietly turns. They loaded both of them into the truck. The stroller too. It felt wrong to leave it behind. No one said that out loud, but everyone understood it. At the shelter, the dog refused to eat unless the stroller was nearby. He slept curled against it. When volunteers tried to move it to clean, he followed, watched, waited until it was put back. Days passed. The house stayed quiet. The maple tree dropped its leaves. The wind chimes kept moving. At the shelter, people talked about the dog, about how gentle he was, about how strange it was. Some thought it was heartbreaking. Some thought it was just habit, something he'd forget in time. He didn't know it yet, but this choice would change everything. Eventually, someone came, not from the blue house. Someone older, slower in their movements. They stood by the kennel and watched the dog sit beside the stroller, patient as ever. They didn't say much. They just stayed. Some bonds don't need words. Paperwork was signed. The stroller was loaded into the back of a car. The dog jumped in on his own this time. On the drive away, he looked out the window for a while, then lay down. Nothing would be the same after this. Months later, the stroller sits folded in a garage. The dog doesn't sleep beside it anymore. He sleeps on a rug near a window, where the afternoon light comes in just right. Sometimes, when he hears a certain sound, he lifts his head, listens, then settles again. The street with the blue house looks the same if you pass by. But if you know the story, it feels different, quieter, like something important happened there, even if no one can quite explain it. If you stayed with the story, thank you. And if you want to hear more like it, you know what to do. Not because anyone asked loudly, just because some stories deserve to be waited for.